Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. Welcome. Welcome to a special Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. I am George. You guys won't believe what happened, okay? I know you guys are in the chat. You're like, you're late. What's going on? I've been streaming now for probably 30 minutes without realizing that I needed to hit the start stream button. I've been talking to myself for 30 minutes and I'm wondering why, no one is talking to me or reacting to me in the chat. And that's because I was streaming along and I forgot to start the stream button. And that's why I'm so late. I apologize. Wow, that was a big screw up. So basically I just got done talking for 30 minutes to myself. And that's not very fun. Well, anyways, welcome to a special live session of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. I usually have these on Friday, but since Bitcoin is at 14,000, I've decided to have one today. I think a lot of people are very excited about what's going on with Bitcoin, and of course, what's going on with the elections, which is still going on. And there's a lot to talk about. So I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are. And I still feel really stupid for streaming 30 minutes to myself. That's just really stupid. All right. Anyways, yes, it was a good show, Matthew. It's always a good show. Smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. What's going on with Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is above 14,000. So it hit 14,000 a few days ago, came back down, hit 14,000 yesterday, and now it's above 14,000, right? Regardless if it comes down below 14,000 or it continues forward, we could see that Bitcoin is on a trend, and that trend is up. It's going up and up and up and up and up, and it continues to move up. But what's different this time around versus all the previous times that Bitcoin really, hit a new high is, let me zoom out a little bit and show you. So when Bitcoin hit 3,000, right? And it kind of hovered for a little bit, but when it was ready, it did this. It went from 3,000 to 14,000 in a matter of like a month. So every day, every week, it was skyrocketing, right? And we all enjoyed this ride, but we knew deep down, although we didn't want to admit it, that things were just a little bit too quick, right? And that's why it came back down. But that is an important mark because you could see that was when Bitcoin hit 14,000, right? And then it came back down. A big sudden drop earlier this year, right? Because the broader market was getting hammered and a lot of people had weak hands and decided to sell off Bitcoin. And guess what? Afterwards, it came up really, really, really quick, right? But now you could see that the inclines and declines have settled down and they're really, really tame compared to before. And that's actually a good thing because what we're seeing is slow incremental buys. Everything that is being sold is being gobbled up right now. And that's what we want, right? It kind of sucks if you're waiting for a dip for like a major buying opportunity, like you're hoping Bitcoin falls down to 10,000 so you can buy more. Those days just seem like they're gone. That's not going to happen anymore. When Bitcoin falls, maybe it falls 1,000 points, maybe it falls 500 points, but then guess what? It just kind of recovers up really, really, really quickly. And that's what we're seeing right now. And what is beyond 14,000? Well, as you can see here, a lot of white space. There's really not a whole lot of resistances above 14,000. The next one that I pinpointed to, and this goes all the way back to early 2018, is when Bitcoin fell to 17,000. So that is the next resistance that we're looking forward to. Yeah, that's a big gap. That's a big gap right there. That's a 3,000 point gap. So even though Bitcoin is, you could argue high at 14,000, when it passes at this point around 14,100-ish, yeah, it could get wild. That's a 3,000 point swing right there. And that could happen right around the corner. I mean, it literally could happen right around the corner. Bitcoin has gone through some big moves, and seeing how the momentum keeps building and building and building and building, that could be right around the corner. That could be this weekend. And afterwards, of course, then 20,000. And then afterwards, guess what? There's no more. It's all white space up there. It's all empty space because it's unknown. It's uncharted territory. And after 20,000, I mean, who's to say that Bitcoin can't shoot up to 30, 40, 50,000 in a relatively short time frame, right? It could definitely happen. There's a lot to look forward to. Right now, you definitely don't want to be betting against a Bitcoin. If you're still sitting on the sidelines, or if you're still a bear saying Bitcoin's going to fall, you're just going to be missing out. You really are going to be missing out. And I feel silly. Actually, and I don't feel silly. I go beyond that. I feel stupid that I didn't have more strength and go all in when Bitcoin fell down to about 3,800 or even at 4,000 or whatever. This period right here, we were there for about a few days, a day or two or so before it started a major recovery, right? On the way up, I did buy a little bit here or there, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, it just fell from 10,000 down to 3,000. Maybe there's another one right around the corner, but nope, that didn't happen. All Bitcoin did was a V-shaped recovery. It got back to where it was and then continued higher, and now it's going higher. So, like I said last week and the week before, I am sticking to a very strict dollar cost averaging. I need to pick up more Bitcoin. I don't have enough Bitcoin in my opinion. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I think everyone feels the same way. You never could have enough Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin inches higher, as it inches 17,000, 20,000 and beyond, it's going to cost that much more to buy even a fractional Bitcoin, right? And as Bitcoin moves beyond 20,000, that's when it just really gets really, really expensive. Really, really expensive to even have one Bitcoin at this point, right? So right now, even though Bitcoin is 14,000, what I'm doing is I'm buying. I regret I didn't buy more. I really do, but I'm buying a lot more. So why is Bitcoin, though, going up, right? Why is it going up slowly, incrementally? Why is it showing so much strength? Well, of course, I've been talking about for months now what's going around the world with the economy, with the pandemic, right? A lot of uncertainty, a lot of big, rich, powerful, and smart people are all looking at alternatives to fiat, and what they're looking at is Bitcoin. Like right now, there's no bearish thing you could say about Bitcoin. Everyone has turned. JP Morgan, the largest bank in the US, used to be ultra bearish on Bitcoin. Now their advisors are telling their clients, yeah, you should buy some Bitcoin because millennials love Bitcoin and the upside is huge. So even JP Morgan themselves is telling people to buy Bitcoin. Of course, they have their own crypto too. Everyone that used to be bearish on Bitcoin has turned. Norel, I forgot his full name, but he called Dr. Doom. He was one of the biggest Bitcoin bears out there before. You don't hear him talking bad about Bitcoin. And you have a lot of other people just coming out because now they're really starting to realize that Bitcoin is here to stay. It's not going away. And I think they all realize that maybe their bags aren't full, so they need to get in quickly. But this is also another reason. Grayscale Trust, which has this big, gigantic pot of Bitcoin, and they do this for multiple reasons. One, they get investors, to pour in money so they could buy Bitcoin. Number two, they also sell this trust that you could buy, and you could buy it through a stock market too. But yeah, the inflow of money coming into Grayscale is starting to become silly. Okay, this is really, really staggering. So last week alone, $215 million have inflowed into Grayscale Trust. And guess what happened with that money? $250 million went into buying Bitcoin. That's what happened. So that's 1 week alone. 1 week alone. And this is increasing. In 2020, you could see that beginning of the year, right? When the broader market started selling off, not so much, but still 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars flowed in. That's not too shabby, right? Not too shabby. And then you had a brief period where it jumped up to 112 million. Not too shabby, but look at what happened starting into, June and July, right? 185 million poured in, and then you have 168 million poured in. And then the last few weeks and months, 198 million, 184 million, and just last week, 215 million poured in. And all this is going into buying Bitcoin. Of course, Grayscale doesn't buy it on the open exchanges. They don't go to Binance and say, I want to buy $215 million of Bitcoin. They're doing it, with OTC. And with the OTC market, it kind of it's kind of hidden, right? And doesn't cause such a price fluctuation right away until the OTC market dries up. And then they have no choice but to buy Bitcoin in the open market. And that is what's happening. Every single Bitcoin out there that's being produced by the miners and being sold by weak hands, they're getting gobbled up. Every single one, which is why Bitcoin does not fall anymore. It just continues to go up, and it's looking like it wants to go much higher and break through this 14,152, which it did. And if it solidly breaks through this, yeah, that's what's going to happen right there. It's going to go right there. So you got a lot of ultra rich, wealthy whales that is worried about fiat. And what they're doing is, rather than buying Bitcoin because they don't want to be responsible for holding like $50 million with Bitcoin in their ledger, they go to Grayscale and say, hey, take my money and I want to be exposed to Bitcoin. And that is what's happening right now. And at this pace, Grayscale is set to control 5% of the entire Bitcoin circulating supply by end of 2021. That is a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoin, okay? So this is one of the main reasons why Bitcoin continues to go up, because it's just being gobbled up by the ultra rich. But we know that retail investors are also involved. Investors like you and I, holders, we're getting involved, we're getting excited. And services like this only help. PayPal raises crypto buying limit to 15,000. PayPal made a big splash last month by announcing that they're going all in on crypto. They're going to allow crypto trading, custody service, basically the whole shebang. And now they're raising limits. And according to this article, only 10% of customers right now have access to this new crypto service. But within the next 2 to 3 weeks, the remaining of the US customers will gain the full tools, which means that the other 90% will be able to buy Bitcoin on PayPal. Think about the timing of that. Within the next 2 to 3 weeks, Bitcoin could be at 17,000 or beyond already. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Bitcoin could be beyond 17,000 within the next 2 weeks, right? So that's when FOMO really starts kicking in. Although it's not at 20,000 yet, but at 17,000, trust me, FOMO will start kicking in. Retail investors will want a piece, right? And PayPal is going to cause a lot of people that, that's not familiar or trusting of, like, say, Coinbase or Gemini, traditional exchanges, right? But a lot of people trust PayPal. They serve a lot of people. A lot of customers use them, right? Even though they're not a really good company. I don't really like them because of their policies. But you can't deny the fact how much attention and publicity and adoption to go bring to Bitcoin, right? So in the next 2 to 3 weeks, as this ramps up, it's going to time really well with Bitcoin going up much higher than where it is now. So that is also another reason why Bitcoin is going up, because there's easier tools, easier access to buy, easier access to trade and store, right? And they're not the only ones. Of course, Square's Cash App already has this. And trust me, pretty soon, I bet you're going to hear other apps and even maybe some of these, brokerages go start doing it as well. I know, like Charles Schwab, they're trying to merge with TD Ameritrade, but TD Ameritrade, remember, was getting involved with Bitcoin and crypto. They wanted to get in custody service. Who knows? Maybe they all of a sudden announce that you could buy Bitcoin through them too, right? Like it's just a snowball effect from here. So a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. Of course, what's going on right now with the presidential election, everyone's waiting to see what happens. It's a very tight race. I think Michigan is going to decide it, and Michigan swung to a blue color. So I think that may be it. But right now, the two are neck and neck, right? And it's the remaining states are kind of divided, mostly in Trump's favor. But we'll see. Wisconsin swung to a blue state. Michigan swung to a blue state, although traditionally they always have been blue states until Trump made them red. But we'll see what happens. It'll be quite interesting one way or another, whether or not Biden wins or Trump wins, what the market is going to react to. But right now, market's doing good. But anyways, Associated Press is publishing the election results on Ethereum and EOS right now. I did not know that they were doing this already. But you think about it, it's a perfect use case for this, right? There's always like questions, I guess, or I don't know if there's always or recently, but there's been questions about ballots and voting, mail-in, and all this stuff, whether or not it's accurate or legit, or there's fraud or whatever, right? But you think a really good use case for blockchain is to actually secure this kind of data, right? So that's a pretty good that they're actually putting everything onto the blockchain. I didn't know that they were doing this already, and they're doing this on Ethereum and EOS. So pretty good. Pretty good. All right. What else is there? I saw this, and I don't know what this means. Should I be scared? Should I not be scared, or whatever? I mean, there's a lot of question marks around this, right? So this is interesting because Silk Road, of course, we know it's a website that basically part of the dark web that was dealing with some bad stuff, drugs, guns, whatever, right? And this kid Ross started it. He got busted. I don't know. He got a life sentence for it, right? It's pretty harsh for someone that's so young, and he's still serving right now. So a lot of people are trying to get that appealed, or at least his mom is. But anyways, he turned in a lot of Bitcoin when he got arrested. But still, people have been thinking about, yeah, there's probably a lot more Bitcoin that has been, holding somewhere, right? So now $1 billion worth of Bitcoin from a Silk Road wallet has been moved for the first time since 2015. That is a large amount, right? And what makes this interesting, what makes this story more interesting is for the past month or two, there's been rumors about how the private key is encrypted, right? And that encryption file has been swirling around hackers to see if anyone can actually break through it. Right? It's unknown whether or not that was actually legit or not, but some people felt like that was legit. That was being moved around to see if anyone could crack it, and it leads to $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. So it could be that one of the hackers finally did break through an encryption, although it's very unlikely. Or it could be Ross himself moving it from jail, or one of his partners or associates have moved it, or I don't know, or it just got moved mysteriously. So this did happen. So we'll see what happens as we move forward, whether or not it's going to be moved to Coinbase or wherever and being sold off, or is it going to be exchanged for altcoins, or is it going to some kind of cold storage, or will it be distributed among thousands of wallets so it's harder to track? Who knows? But thought I should mention that because that's quite interesting. What else is there? Well, besides what I just said, I mean, looking at altcoins, I know right now a lot of people have questions whether or not you should be holding altcoins. It's a tough one, especially myself. For this past month, I've been really regretting holding altcoins, right? But I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. Altcoins go through these phases where they just simply get shredded, especially compared to Bitcoin. So if you look at just the last week alone, Bitcoin's up 7%, but then Chainlink is down 9%, Binance Coin down 13%, Litecoin down 4%, Polkadot down 6%, EO's down 12%, Tron down 10%, Crypto.com down 13%, Tezos down 8%, Neo down 30%. You get the idea, right? So it's been really painful to see not only your altcoin go down in USD, but also decrease vastly against BTC, right? So your BTC value is actually going down. So it's really, really tough. Really, really tough. Obviously, I believe in Bitcoin. And I've been saying the last few sessions, people ask me, should you still go, distribute 50, 25, 25 with your portfolio? And I'm like, no, probably more like 75, 25, 75% in Bitcoin. Because when Bitcoin skyrockets and gets all the momentum, what it's going to do is just drain out from the altcoins. That always happens. Happened before when I first got in around 2013, 2014. It happened in 2017 when Bitcoin skyrocketed, right? And it's probably going to happen in 2021 too. And then later on, that's when altcoins will get stronger. So if you're holding a lot of altcoins, you're wondering should you switch or not, you have to make that decision. However, based on what I just said, if you're taking from a contrarian view, this is the perfect time to be buying more altcoins, right? Because you're supposed to buy when other people are fearful. You're getting it at a bargain price, right? So you could argue that this is the perfect time to be stacking up on altcoins while Bitcoin is going up, and that is true. But it's really painful. Really painful to be holding altcoins right now when Bitcoin is so strong. Or I should say holding a lot of altcoins. Not some. Some is fine. But if you're holding a lot of altcoins, probably a pretty painful week or a painful 2 weeks or a painful month. And that's why Bitcoin dominance continues to go up too. All right. I think that's it. This is what I said by myself, to myself for 30 minutes plus. And I still feel very silly for doing so. But anyways, it's a good starting time because after I started, Bitcoin shot up about $100. So now we're at 14,100 plus. We're at that point. See, this point that I marked around 14,152. This is a pretty hard resistance, right? So it needs to stay above this, break above, stay above, utilize this as a support. Then Bitcoin can continue up to 17,000, which could be right around the corner. If you look at stochastic RSI here on a daily, it's almost bottomed out. RSI is still high, but stochastic is nearing bottom. That's pretty good. 4 hour, kind of in the middle, doesn't really say much. 1 hour, getting up there, so it might take a little breather pretty soon. But daily looks like it could be good, and weekly is still on the way up. So not too bad. Not too bad for Bitcoin. All right, I'll turn to you guys. For some Q&A. Jcorn, but George, there's so much adoption around the world. Why can't the whole market go up this time? Well, first of all, there's not a whole lot of adoption. All the adoption is in Bitcoin right now. All right, despite the fact that you may be led to think that Ethereum and others are gaining worldwide adoption, they're really not. They're really not. Though the adoption is in Bitcoin right now, and Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin is more of a it's not more of, it is a store of value versus everything else that's more tech, right? And for tech to go up, you got to get a ton of usage, and there's not a whole lot of usage right now. But for store of value, right, people just simply need to buy and hold, and that is what's going on right now. You could see it with Grayscale. You could see it with guys like MicroStrategy that pours in like $400 million. What they're doing is they're buying and selling, and that's what you need to happen. Swarma, what's your top 3-5 holds? I don't know. I think right now 1 through 5. I mean, 2 to 5 doesn't really matter. What matters is Bitcoin. I've said that at the beginning of the stream. Right now, I really feel silly for not buying a lot more when Bitcoin is 3 or 4K. So you would have, what, 5x your money within a few months. But with that said, I don't think Bitcoin is done. There's no reason why Bitcoin can't 5x from here and go 10x from here too. Probably not going to come right away. Probably won't come in a few months. But going into 2021, Bitcoin, once it passes 20,000, it's the Wild West. It will go much, much, much higher, right? And seeing what's going around in terms of adoption and everything else that's going on, right? The one that's going to benefit the most is Bitcoin. So right now, don't worry so much about 2 to 5. And I know you're asking that. You're like, oh, I want to pick up some altcoins right now. But right now, the name of the game for me and for most of you guys should be just to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can. Honestly, that's how I feel right now. That's how I feel. You gotta stack those sats as much as you can while you still can, because once this heads to 50, 75, 100,000, it's gonna be just too damn expensive then. And then when you have made all that money with Bitcoin, you could then stack your sats with with altcoins. Because I think at the tail end of 2021, when Bitcoin really gets up there and the bubble will be ready to be popped, I think around then is when altcoins will really, really start to fly. Just like in 2017. 2017, altcoins really didn't fly until the last month, and then the very first and second month of 2018. That's when altcoins really flew, right? The 10x's, the 20x, the 100x's. It really happened in a very short amount of time, and that's when the money was coming out of Bitcoin going to altcoins. And I think we'll see that transaction. We'll see that transition, I should say. When altcoins start going up and Bitcoin stalls out, I think you'll know when the time is coming. Right now, that's what it seems like, Roger. I mean, right now, it's really painful to be an altcoin holder, right? Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go down. If Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down, right? Because right now the momentum is just swinging out of altcoins. I know for a few months this year, altcoins were really, really hot. Now they're all getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and all that money and strength is going to Bitcoin, and rightfully so. I've always said this, right? I've always said this. Don't give up on Bitcoin, right? Don't give up on Bitcoin. Hold some alts to try to grow your portfolio faster in Bitcoin. That's how you gain on Bitcoin. But if you're holding altcoins and you're losing against Bitcoin, then you're basically doing it wrong, right? You're doing yourself a disservice, and that's not what we want. Marshawn, I mean, me, you, both, right? At that time, I think what was different this time around for Bitcoin, this was different because Bitcoin was so steady, right? Bitcoin obviously went up to 14,000. It was coming back. It was hovering around 10,000. And then this was so suddenly, whether the miners just decided to dump, whether or not some whales decided to dump simultaneously, I think this scared a lot of people. That is why you and myself, we didn't go all in at Bitcoin at this point. I should have. Everyone, in hindsight, of course, why wouldn't you have gone all in at 3K, right? Or 4K? But that's because that was so sudden. And then, of course, the pandemic was coming in full swing. The broader market was selling off like crazy. Everything was bad at that moment, right? That's when toilet paper was impossible to find, too. Remember? Shelves were emptied. So this was a scary time for a lot of people. But with that said, even though Bitcoin is much higher now, it's much more expensive to buy, this is still a very cheap price to where it's going to be in the near future. So that's what I believe in, right? So I think you got to pick up as much as you can right now. It doesn't matter if it falls to 13,000 tomorrow. If it falls to 10,000 the next day, I'll be buying more. I'll be buying more for sure. This is not a time, I believe, to be fearful with Bitcoin. This is only a time to be greedy almost with Bitcoin, because you could see it. You could see it. when Grayscale and other companies are adding hundreds of millions of Bitcoin per week, yeah, they're not buying for short-term gains. They're buying for long-term gains, and they're trying to prepare for devaluation of the dollar or fiat or inflation or whatever they're trying to prepare for. There are billions and billions and billions of dollars being poured into Bitcoin right now, right? So it's only going to help it grow. It's a very, very tight race. But like I said, I think whoever wins Michigan will win. And Michigan turned blue. Yeah, last night, Michigan was purely in red. And so was Wisconsin. But if you're looking at the count right now, in order to reach 270, Biden needs to win Nevada, which he will. If he wins Wisconsin, and then Michigan, that's pretty much it. He would reach the 270, right? Now for Trump, he needs to win all these anticipated states too: Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and he needs to win Michigan. If he doesn't get Michigan, he's done. So Michigan is a state that they both need, right? And right now, it's in favor of Biden. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. This election is much closer than I think anyone thought it would be, right? Like, Trump supporters just refuse to believe everything is fake news, that the polls are all wrong. Trump will win very easily. But that's not the case. And even the Democrats, right? The polls are showing Biden 10-point lead or whatever. That's not the case too. It's very, very, very tight. But we'll see what happens. What's going to happen? If Biden wins or Trump wins, is the market going to crash tomorrow, right? Like, what is going to happen? Right now, the market is doing very good. Look at NASDAQ up almost 5% today. NASDAQ was destroyed last week. Destroyed. And so was the Dow. Now, yesterday, everything up. Today, everything's up, right? But what does this mean? Is this up because people are thinking that Biden's going to win, or do they think Trump is going to win? And what's going to happen afterwards? I don't know. What's BIB? 40%. Jesus. Source: 42% advance the FDA meeting on its Alzheimer's disease. I thought they found a cure or vaccine for COVID, but no, it's for Alzheimer's. Anyways, yeah. Bitcoin is continuing to do its thing. Let's just leave this white space here. We could definitely see this happen. Going into this weekend, it could be wild. It could be wild. Yeah, polls are always wrong because the people who conduct the polls, they're biased, right? If they want the polls to show one way or another, they'll ask a certain type of people or a certain group or a certain area. So you can always sway polls one way or another. So it's not, you shouldn't take it, you take it with a grain of salt. But my friend, who is a huge Trump supporter, he refused to believe in anything. Everything is fake news. and he's like, Trump is going to win, in a landslide with electoral votes. And that's not the case. Yeah, I forgot. There's also the stimulus package. The second stimulus package that's coming, which, if you think about it, is a win-win for Bitcoin. It's a win for Bitcoin because a lot of people that get the new check that doesn't really need it, what they're going to do is probably go invest with it and probably put it in Bitcoin. And then it's going to make the ultra-rich also fearful about inflation and the evaluating of the dollar, and they're going to buy more Bitcoin. So actually, if you think about a second stimulus package, it only helps Bitcoin. And Bitcoin continues to go up and up and up and up. Yeah, Eric. Unfortunately, we don't go by the popular vote. If we went by a popular vote, Hillary would have won, too. So I'm not sure if that's actually such a good thing or not. And I'm not trying to say I'm one party or another, for one party or another, but I think popular vote doesn't win for a good reason sometimes. You see, I don't get it. I should know more, and I'm sure everyone was taught this in school, right? But we know the presidency is not based on popular vote; it's based on electoral votes, and every state has have a certain number, right? Based on, I think it's senators, right? How many? Wait, no, based on congressmen. Um, but then I don't get how that translate to what the congressmen are voting, right? Do they look at in their district, what the vote is, and then they put in their vote? Is that how it is? Because I just don't get, or they vote regardless of what the popular vote is, right? I know you could go against your constituents, right? You don't have to go, but most likely you're not gonna get voted in again. But I don't get how that works. Maybe some of you guys can answer. Like, if they're still counting the popular vote from the general population, is it that they wait until that's done, then the electoral votes are casted based on the popular votes? Or is the electoral votes already casted even before the counting is done? Because if that's the case, then what's the point of the popular vote? So maybe you guys can chime in. I'm confused on that. All BTC live channels down. Is mine down? It's going right now, right? When I first started this, Daniel, what's up? When I first started the stream, I told you guys, I was just speaking to myself for like 30 minutes, and I was looking at the watching count, and I'm like, why is it stuck at 40? Is something going on today? And then I realized I didn't start the stream, and I was talking to myself for 30 minutes, and I just felt really silly afterwards. But I'm glad I caught that now. I'm glad a lot of you guys showed up. Good turnout today on a Wednesday, right? Today is a Wednesday. Yes, today is Wednesday. Hello from Ireland. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, so yeah. Are the altcoins getting any love? No. Altcoins are not. I got done saying it, and I'm not trying to be a downer, but right now, man, it's painful to be an altcoin holder, right? The last week, the last month, I look at my portfolio, I'm like, why is it going down? Because I have too much altcoins. Altcoins are going down faster than Bitcoin is going up. It not only is dragging my BTC value down, but it's dragging my USD value down too. And I'm like, man, what am I doing? That's what altcoins does to you. Sometimes you just kind of like scratch your head and you're like, why am I in altcoins, right? I should just be in all Bitcoin all the time. And there are a lot of times when BTC goes up, that's what happens. It drains out everything, right? It drains out from the altcoins because it has all the momentum and strength and everything. Everyone right now is contracting Bitcoin. But with that said, the contrarian view is, you know what, you go against what everyone else is doing. And right now, everyone is going for Bitcoin, right? So what you do is you buy what everyone else is not buying, and that's altcoins, and you buy cheap because that's the perfect time to buy. And then when Bitcoin tops out and the money flows in altcoins, you would have, filled your bags already, so you'll be set. That's not a bad strategy too. So definitely you can look at it both sides. Right now, I still believe holding majority Bitcoin is the smartest thing to do. Have a little bit of alts. If the alts drag your portfolio down, it won't be that bad. But when the alts do skyrocket, right, they'll carry your portfolio in a big way. But I think we'll see that transition. Like, we'll see it. We'll notice it, right? When, I don't know, Chainlink or even XRP or Ethereum really start moving faster than Bitcoin for an extended period of time, then you'll definitely notice it. But right now, what you notice is weakness, right? Nothing but weakness, and it's really, really sad. BTC just broke the 61.8 retracement level. All these retracement levels and all these things, they all correlate with each other. I bet that 61.8 retracement level is right around here. And why is it there? Because this is the previous previous support and resistance for Bitcoin, right? So all these things are based on past data. But if you're going by that, what I'm excited about is what's beyond that, right? Look at this. Oh yeah, that's a bunch of white space right there. That's uncharted territory. That's going into unknown space, right? Not really. Until 17,000. After 20,000, a different story. But yeah, so this is why there's a huge gap right here. So maybe later tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, we could see Bitcoin go up to 15, 16, 17,000 really quickly. I think that's what's beyond, of course, 14,000. And then afterwards, 20,000 and beyond, that's when it's really unknown territory because there's nothing up there. There's nothing up there to chart. That's when it's going to get really fun, really exciting. The volatility will definitely come back. FOMO will really kick in. So, did I mention XRP? Unfortunately, I did. I did mention XRP. BNB did go on a crazy run before, like $4 all the way up to like $40. But then since then they've been really, really weak. Another reason why I've been listing so many things of why Bitcoin has been going up and up and up slowly, right? Mostly because it's just buying. That's it. And there's no other reason. There's buying. Grayscale is buying 215 million inflow last week alone. Alone. And they've been buying Bitcoin like crazy because the wealthy investors want Bitcoin. But you also have companies like Square and MicroStrategy that's buying Bitcoin as a reserve currency, all that, right? We get PayPal and Square, along with the exchanges, they're helping people buy Bitcoin as well as a retail investor. But I think one thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that BitMEX is basically done with their shenanigans, right? Arthur Hayes and his company and his buddies can't manipulate prices anymore. So that could be a big thing. BitMEX is bigger than people think. The order books for BitMEX is enormous, especially because of their 100x leverage. But ever since they've been indicted and they're being arrested for money laundering and all this stuff, right? Of course, they can't be pulling the same shenanigans. That could also be a big reason why Bitcoin is so stable, because they can't pull those kind of, liquidations and stuff like that, right? Who knows what they were doing behind the scenes? They were always boasting and bragging about the stuff they could get away with. Who knows what they were doing that they weren't boasting about, right? Maybe they were doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, controlling the market. And now that they're gone, this could also be the reason why Bitcoin is finally moving up. Maybe without BitMEX, Bitcoin would be at $50,000 already, right? Maybe it was because of BitMEX that made things so bad. Who knows? I'm just speculating there. But I think a lot of people don't concentrate on BitMEX. That could be playing a part in this. VR, it's not going in a straight line though. That's the thing. If you look at a weekly, oh shoot, I did not want to adjust that. Boy, you just made me mess that up. If you look at a weekly, yeah, it looks like it's pretty aggressive, but you got to realize periods like this is not a straight line. We were there for months. This is not a straight line, right? If you go to the day, this is a slow, gradual climb. This is not like a sudden climb. Many periods where you're just going flat, this is months. This is not weeks or days. This is months, right? Even this was spread over a month, right? This was spread over a month. This is not a straight line up. This is a slow, gradual upwards. That's what we want to see. This is not the same thing as this. This was very aggressive, right? This happened within 3 months, but it went from 3,800 all the way up to 10,000. That was 3x within a short amount of time. Of course, it's nothing like this either, right? So what we're seeing is a gradual up. And that's actually very different from before. This is not the same as 2019 or 18 or even 17. So this is you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, and I'm gonna have to pull up this. Back in here, okay? I know most of you guys remember what happened at the tail end of 2017, but after the last halving event, right, and going into 2017, you could see Bitcoin is slowly coming up, right? How it was stalled for a while, and then it started coming up slowly, and then accelerating. This period right here is what I'm reminded of, right? Slow and steady gains, and then you see like parabolic gains, okay? That is what's happening. It's exactly the same thing because it's coming after a halving event, right? And it's slow and steady right now. And 2021 is when we could really see it do this. It could happen. It could happen. BAT has been non-moving for a long time, so I can't really comment on BAT. I do love the project. I do love the leader, but they have been really, really stagnant. They have been one altcoin that has not been moving at all, mostly because no one is holding BAT. People that get rewarded in BAT, they sell it immediately for BTC or something else. I think that is ultimately the reason why BAT has not been moving up. However, when altcoin season does come, it can help with them. Brian, welcome. Tara. If you're talking about, excuse me, a good entry point. Right now, I'll say it again. For me, I had enough of trying to time Bitcoin. Like if I think it's gonna come down or up or whatever, I stopped trying to time it because more often than not, I just hurt myself. Right now, the best time is to set a strategy and just keep buying. Buy as much Bitcoin as you can, hold it, and that's it. That's the name of the game. I really regret not buying more at 3,800, at 4,000, at 5,000, right? But that's when emotion kick in. That's why most people didn't buy or go all in at that point because Bitcoin fell so drastically and a pandemic was hitting and stuff like that, right? So the best move is to just set a strategy for yourself. If you're trying to time Bitcoin, like right now on a very short-term basis, like if you go by the hourly or you go by the 4-hourly, right? 4-hourly still has some ways to go. Hourly looks like it's topping out, but it could go up a little bit. So based on this, maybe Bitcoin could go up to like 14,500 and come down a little bit. But that little bit doesn't really matter, right? It's a few hundred points. So when you're talking about if you're buying a fractional Bitcoin, it's so little that it doesn't really matter anymore. Right now, if you're talking about like a buying point, whether or not Bitcoin's gonna fall like 1,000 points or 2,000 points, I just don't see it right now. I just don't see it. In fact, if you look at a day chart, stochastic has almost bottomed out, so that's also pretty good. So that actually shows that it's getting ready to move higher. And weekly is still moving higher. Weekly has not topped out yet. It's getting there, but it hasn't topped out yet. So if you're looking at some of these longer term indicators, actually Bitcoin is doing very well indeed. So I would, in my advice, and this is not financial advice, this is what I'm doing now, is basically don't worry so much about timing the bottom. Worry about just not going overboard, buying what you can afford, right, and dollar cost averaging on a set schedule. That's probably the best way you could do it. John, if that happened, it'll be good for me. I haven't been going all in at this price, right? I have cash on the side. If Bitcoin dumps to 10,000, it'll be the biggest gift. Biggest gift ever. Like basically a 40% drop, you could buy 40% more Bitcoin with it, right? And then watch it come right back up. Any drastic drop from this point on, I will see it as the biggest gift ever because we know what's going on with Bitcoin. We know why it's going up, right? And any whale manipulation that may happen, it's it's only temporary, right? So I'm waiting for that to happen, but honestly, I just don't see it. With BitMEX shenanigans out the window, and with Grayscale buying Bitcoin by $200 million a week, I just don't see that kind of volatility coming anytime soon or ever again. I mean, I've said this before, like before I say, oh, I don't think we'll ever see below 6,000 again. I know never is a long time, it's infinite. But, you know, I just have a really hard time believing that Bitcoin will fall below 10,000 ever again. I have a hard time believing that. It could happen. Anything could happen. But right now, I just don't see that happening. Man, this is a good turnout. Almost 500 people watching. Those of you guys that are new, appreciate it. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my streams. My next one will be on Friday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's my normal one. But today I want to have one because today's a good day. Actually, I want to have a stream last night, which would have been more fun. But with the elections, you know, going on, everyone's glued to it. I don't think that would have been a good turnout. But it's a turnout. It's a good turnout. Today, Bitcoin is doing good. Broader market's doing good. And everyone's waiting to see what happens. In Michigan swings. In Michigan, you know, if Biden wins Michigan, that's it. The election's over. If Trump wins Michigan, it's over too. Whoever wins Michigan wins. That's basically the bottom line. If Bitcoin tanks to 5,000, it'll be the biggest gift. Biggest gift in the world. But even looking at this, I don't think it's going to happen. So I kept this lower wedge, you know, in place here. Honestly, it should be like this. So this tracks, you know, when Bitcoin fell down to 3,100, and then over here 3,400. This time it was about 5,000, but you can see the down wick. It was more drastic than that. But if you follow this, let's just say, assuming tomorrow Bitcoin starts falling and it just does this, right? And it comes down here, that's still 7,000s. That's not 5,000s. So even worst case scenario, it falls right there, like just straight down from tomorrow. That would be at 7,000s, right? If there's a drastic down wick, maybe to the 5,000, but it would probably settle still at 7,000s. But I just don't see this event happening. Nope, I just don't see it. It's all these being sold is being gobbled up right now. So we'll see. We'll see. Tony, man, welcome. Tony, how's your house hunting? Or did you buy a new house already? Austin, you're late. Actually, you're not late. I've been streaming for a while. It's not gonna fall. It's not gonna be decided over in Nevada. I don't think so, but maybe. Nevada said they're not gonna be counting today or something. I don't know why. Claudio, I don't know if that's the right move. Like for me, I bought so much that I feel like I have enough. I've stopped buying. I'm going to wait and see what happens this season. I think it will be explosive too, but I don't think this is the time to be buying basketball cards instead of BTC. I think there's certain shifts. And right now, I'd rather have more money in BTC. Tony, congrats. You memorize your private key. I hope you have a backup copy, because anytime you memorize it, right, you think you got it, and then you wait a month, and then you don't have it. So hopefully you still have it written down somewhere. Austin, well, I appreciate it. DeFi, I think just too many people were bored, so they got involved with DeFi and yield farming and stuff. I think DeFi is still great. And if you looked at the locked-in value, it's still high. It's not like the locked-in value just tanked, but the prices of those tokens have tanked, right? And that's because they should have never been up that high in the first place. I try to kind of correlate it with, a collateral or a locked-in value versus market cap ratio. I try to establish that, but now I realize that was total BS, and you can't do that because it was just all being pumped and manipulated. But overall, I think DeFi is still good. Takes power away from the centralized exchanges and from centralized banks. But I think too many people got hyped up on yield farming and stuff like that, and just kind of ruined things. The best day to buy Bitcoin is always yesterday. I think that's honestly true. With Bitcoin, you just have to buy it. And buy it and hold it. When things go down, yeah, it sucks. But you really have to train yourself to think that if there's a drastic drop, it's a gift because it's going to come back. There has never been a time in history of Bitcoin that it hasn't come back yet. Sure, we haven't got to 20,000 yet, so you can make the argument, well, if you bought at December 15 of 2017, it's not all the way back yet, but it'll be back pretty soon. All the other times that you bought Bitcoin, went down, it's back up, and it's higher than before, right? Bitcoin doesn't disappoint. And you got to train yourself to think that all these periods where there's a sudden flash drop or crash or whatever, these are all gifts. And if you can really train yourself to view it that way, like really no doubt, and you can actually take advantage of these dips, you're setting yourself for life-changing wealth. Honestly, that's what it is. Metal Gear, congrats. That's a big purchase. I think the next altcoin season will come mid to late of 2021. I think that by that point, Bitcoin will be close to reaching its top. And you'll know because when it's close to reaching its top, it's going to start moving up in a big way, like really, really fast. That's when you know the end is coming. Usually when something is about to burst, and you can see it with altcoins right now, when it's getting pumped, the last few moments before it dumps, it goes up faster. So I think when Bitcoin is getting ready to stop, and that could be the end of 2021, or maybe some people speculate it's going to go into 2022. When it's getting ready, then people will start pulling out, put money in altcoins, and they made so much in Bitcoin, then they could dump all that profit into altcoins and drive it higher. So I do think it's really going to come second half, latter half up to 2021, and could carry into 2022 too. Well, if you're a baller, that one buy could be your dollar cost average. Just try to make that same buy every month if you can afford it, or spread it out like half every month or something like that, or just set some smaller increments. I mean, I honestly feel like that's the best way to go. Everyone that I know, and it's not just with Bitcoin, everyone that I know, and I don't know that many people, but everyone that I do know that have set themselves on a discipline like buying, okay, where they have trained themselves to buy low and be consistent, dollar cost average, right? Like with Tesla stock or with cards or whatever, they have all done very well. And I find that even though I've been in this for a long time, the times that I have thought that, man, I ain't got this, I know it's going to go down, or I know it's going to go up, so I'm going to sell it now and buy lower or whatever. Those times that I was 100% certain ended up being 100% wrong. So I'm finally over those days. I'm like, I got to stop that, right? I got to stop it, take emotions out, buy on a schedule, or buy and just forget. Just hold. That's pretty much the name of the game. Trump just won? No, that didn't happen. The way this is going, Biden's going to win because Michigan has swung over. Unless it swings back to Trump, but it doesn't look like it will. But I think this is a much closer election than anyone would have guessed. I've been doing Friday streams forever. I haven't stopped Quarter Crawler. Every Friday has been a stream so far. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, guys. That's over an hour. I'll let you guys go. Definitely a good day for Bitcoin. Above 14,000, and it's looking like it wants to hold. But this point right here, this 14,152, that's actually really the point that we want to break. So we've been having a hard time holding above that. We need to break above that point. You could see it clearly that is actually a really hard resistance right now. Until that turns support, right? We'll probably be here for a little bit, maybe just hover here. But once we do break above and turn that into support, that's when 17,000 is next stop. There's really nothing between 14,000 and 17,000. And you could do it yourself. Just go back to like 2017, 2018, and you'll notice that there's just really nothing. And now it's all skewed. Yeah, if you go back here, you just see there's like nothing. It's just emptiness. Anyways, all right, that's it, guys. Have a good one. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for my future videos and my live stream this Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and maybe I'll have one at night or whatever. Just depends on what Bitcoin is doing. So pay attention to me on Twitter. All right, guys, that is it. Bye-bye.